If you've watched this show before, you know these are colors I'm not Miss Pink person. Okay, here comes a good one. Something unexpected in the shadows. I like to put unexpected things everywhere. I don't know, you ever remember being a kid and playing with the shadows on the wall and doing little birds? Hi, welcome to Give Your Wall Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom. Well, for today's episode, I decided to do the unthinkable. There's usually a stigma about painting something that would match your couch, and I know artists get asked to paint something that will match their patron's couch, some people will and some people won't. But I thought, you know what? My couch is kind of inspiring, so I brought it, and I didn't bring in the whole couch, but I brought in a cushion, and the colors, I'm actually going to match my own couch, and the colors that are in my couch are going to be the inspiration for what I do on this painting, and I just thought it'd be fun to do something different. So, what do I have here? This is a piece that I started. I was going to do clouds. And I changed my mind. I had done so many clouds that I was fried, didn't want to do any more for a while. They'll come back. I'll feel like doing them later, but right now I was so over them. So what I'm going to do is I've been asking you guys to Twitter me, call me, email me, and give me some suggestions of what you'd like to see me do. And the first call I got after the last show was from Joe Calici. Now, Joe Calici's 83. And he started painting at 80 years old as a result of watching this show. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, Shannon, when are you going to do another abstract?" And I said, "You know what? You called just in time. I'm just about to tape an episode." So today we're going to do kind of a landscapey, abstract, sort of a dream. And I thought I'd show you some interesting techniques along the way. We're going to be doing some knife work, some glazing. That'll be another wild ride. So what am I going to do here first? This is dry. This is old cloud painting. And the reason that I thought working on the knife would be great, or working with the knife would be great, is that there's pentimento. You can see bits of the existing painting underneath. And I don't want that to show, so we're going to need some heavy paint to cover that up. But first, I thought, well, let's do some glazing. So what is glazing? Glazing is when you have dry surface underneath, and you take a thinned down version of paint and smear it all over the canvas. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm getting a bigger brush because the one I had was too small. I'm going to pull over some, and I'm going to do the most loud, rude color underneath because this is cold underneath, and I want my landscape to be really, really warm. So I'm going to take some Indian yellow, quite a bit of it actually. Move it over, wipe it with my knife, and a bunch of medium. And instead of just taking some out of the cup, I'm going to pour some right next to it. The only bummer about doing this on an angle is it'll spill, so yeah, I better not do that. Okay, when it's first out of the bottle and it's fairly new, you can do that at an angle. After that, it gets a little too runny. So I'm going to dip it in the medium. So it's the consistency of ink. And then I'm just going to smear it all over this canvas. This is loud. This is way over the top. You can see some brush hairs here that are showing up underneath. You'll see some texture. They're there to start, but they won't be there in the end. So on glazing, when you're glazing like this, you can see what's underneath. This is a great way to add shadows over the top of an existing painting, or just punch something up, or actually, if you wanted to do like a purple underneath, you can actually tone some things down. And there are times when I actually do tone things down, but not right now. Oh, I like this. It's kind of neat what you can see underneath. So sometimes the painting, you know, I don't know about you guys, but when I first started painting, I was so into making it look exactly like whatever it was I was copying, whether it was a still life on the table or a photograph or somebody else's painting. And I really worked hard to make it look like something. And so a lot of times I wasn't into the process as much as I could have been or in the moment because I was so worried about the end result. With this, we're just going to play. I think so that's why I like doing abstracts. And what happened is it taught me to be in the moment when I did my other work. Now you can lift the easel up and down in order to reach other parts of the canvas, but there's no right side or wrong side, so I'm just going to flip it over. There. Whoa, there was some red underneath from something I was painting on earlier this morning, and that showed up down here, and I'm leaving it. Because I don't know what this is going to be yet. We're going to find out together. Oh, and you know what? It just needed red. It's just happy. This is just, you're probably looking at this going, what does this have to do with her cushion? Well, it's going to be a nice, warm foundation. And I was in a blue phase for several months, but like I said, I've switched. So you can tell this is very thin. Use a big brush when you do this, unless, of course, you want a lot of little brush strokes. That's fine, too. It's just quicker. All right, so I'm getting this covered. I don't really care which direction the strokes go in. I'm doing crisscross just because it feels good. There's no particular reason for that. I still have some red on the brush, and I'm encouraging it. I can't tell you how many times my parents told them, don't encourage her. Don't encourage her. But you know what? The only thing is I never can encourage myself. And I hope you guys can too. That's fun. All right, so what do we have here? We have a really bright, Lord, that would hurt if you had a hangover looking painting kind of thing going on here. That's what we have. And so now we're going to start. I'm thinking I want most landscapes. Oh, this is going to come out funny, but I got to explain this. Most landscapes have a horizontal orientation. But I really like, most of mine are vertical, either that or squares. And most painters are going to have, you'll find that you have a sense of scale. You like to paint big or small. And you'll have an orientation that feels good to you. And I was going to say that I was horizontally challenged, and I know that came out really wrong, but what I mean is I really like things to be upright. And so I'm going to do a landscape that's in this orientation. So and I think the sky, instead of a traditional blue, I think a pale yellow would be nice. So I'm going to grab some white. We've already got some yellow underneath there. And, you know, I'm wondering if I'm going to start with the brush. I'll start with the brush, but the knife's coming out. I can feel it. All right, so I'm going to wipe my knife and the brush. This is the traditional name, or the technical name for this yellow is Indian yellow. And I can't say it on TV, but if you email me, I'll tell you the best brand, because there's just one brand that has just incredible pigment. It's, you know, I've talked about this before. It's like meatballs. There's not a lot of filler, and these are like good meatballs. And so this is awesome paint. So it makes a difference which brand you use. I'm going to take, but it also takes over. So I'm going to take a little bit of this straight white. Whoa. This is intense. Ooh. This is going to be a wild little painting here. Just kind of go with your energy. No, I didn't have any coffee before I came over. I like what's going on there, though. That's wild. I saw on the way over here the most beautiful, it's probably, you know, I love sunsets, but today's was spectacular. Really cool clouds, reds. It was awesome. And it had wild clouds. They were. Oh, that's good. I'm doing this crisscross motion here, and that's creating some movement. It's like something's going on here. Wow. Okay, so I am kind of thinking about composition, and I think that's enough sky for now. I may put some white over the top, but I'm going to just kind of move down the canvas and see what I feel like doing. Maybe add a little ochre for the hills. So let me throw in some yellow ochre and see what happens. I think yellow ochre and white too. I may need to change brushes. That might be just a little too intense. I think I will. A little too intense. Now, you notice I'm not using medium now. That's too dark. I need white. There we go. That's too light. It's like the Three Little Bears. Okay, so I'm going to add a little violet to that. That'll tone it down. Problem is, it's a little too warm. Of course, that's kind of my mood today. So, and you know what? The colors don't lie. Whatever you paint is, wherever you feel, is going to come out. I was working. My husband. We were doing a value study, and he's very mellow, very, very low key. And so the lower keys are in the darker ranges, and a high key would be in the lighter ranges. And it was interesting because his value study was totally low key, mellow, just like him. Mine was not high key, it was full range. It was all over the place. Imagine that. Okay, I like that. Well, some hills. We got some hills going on back here. I think this is probably too intense up here, but I'm not going to change it yet. And let's change these shapes. Break that up a little bit. That's pretty good. All right, so we got maybe some hills going on back there. And then I'm thinking, so I start to make something that's realistic. I was starting to do a landscape. And as this is hitting, I'm thinking, you know what? It doesn't want, there are days when the painting does not want to be contained. There are days when I can stay in the lines and I do a traditional, something that looks representational. But, and so I thought, well, today maybe would be somewhere in between where I could kind of do an abstract landscape. But it is not going to happen today. I can tell you right now, it's more of a design-oriented thing. I'm just going to blend these things together and see what happens. Do more of a, more of a dream. Yeah, I dream in color. Oh, that's nice. That's soft. Okay, I like this green that happened here. That was kind of cool. And we'll just soften these edges. So you really don't know where one thing starts and one thing stops. All right, let's throw in some sap green. Just to kind of, I'm going straight in here. Some straight tube color. Oof. Now, does this match my cushion? No, it's not exactly the same color, but it has those tones in there. And it's kind of like when you're cooking. And you know, you could add a little bit of spice or you could add a whole bunch. And this one's just got a lot of spice going. All right, so we got some dark here. Now you can start to see some of this painting that was underneath when you put the darker colors in. All right, so we got some dark going on there. We don't want these shapes to be equal, so I'm going to push this up. There we go. That's good. And I don't have enough paint, so I'm scraping some of it off. Some of that blue is showing through. But this is like an underpainting, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, so we've got that going on, and then I'm thinking maybe some purple all down here, down at the bottom. Let's try that. See what happens. Worst that could happen is that it looks really bad. So what I'm going to do is just put it down and see if I like it. What I'm thinking is I need a dark foundation. And you can tell I'm going through straight tube colors. I'm not mixing anything. Ooh, wow, that's wild. Wild, wild, wild. Okay, there is like a little chemical reaction going on right here. And so a couple things could cause that. I might not have, when I was cleaning the brushes, got enough of the oil out, and so that it's resisting each other when it's hitting the canvas. It's probably not a good thing. Ooh. I'm doing uneven brush strokes vertically. Just going to see what happens here. So this part of the canvas, I was going back and forth, left to right, and this is up and down. I'm liking what the violet's doing with the yellow underneath. That's happy. It's wild. Woof. I painted over. I've been painting over a lot of stuff lately. If you've watched the show before, you know that a lot of times if it's bad energy, it gets tossed. It is, you know, the John Smith collection, which is our local landfill, because I don't want that energy out in the universe. So if it's really bad and I've struggled with it and I'm feeling kind of puny about it, then I throw it out. But if it's just not working and it doesn't have any negative connotations, then I'll paint over it. And so this one, I just didn't feel like taking it where it was going, so I did. Now this is just wild, wild. Wild, wild. Anybody that's watched this before knows that I'm channeling somebody else, because this is not how I paint. But I'm going with it. What's different? What's causing some of this? I don't typically use brushes that are squared off. If you can look at the palette here, this brush is squared off. It's not a filbert shape. Let me show you an example of a filbert. It's got a rounded edge. And so the strokes are going to look different. This one's square, and it's got like a grassy look to it. Now the problem with once you get to the bottom part of the canvas, you need to lift your. Well, I'm going to raise this up just a tad. If you don't put this in, if you don't put the peg in right, it'll fall and scare the heck out of you when you're in the middle of painting. I've had that happen before. All right, so when you get down to the bottom, though, you want to make sure that you lift the canvas up, because you don't want your brush strokes to just stop at the bottom and look like you're running away from the edge of the painting. You got to hit it head on. So I'm starting here. I'm getting a little more medium. just right off the bottom of the canvas. Oops. And then you got to remember that you did that because I've pushed it off that way too. This is a trip. Okay, so I hope you're looking at this going, well, I could do that. That's the whole point. I want you to give it a shot and see what you can make. It's not always about a realistic thing. Sometimes it's just about creating, having fun, seeing what the paint do. Let the paint tell you what it wants to do. Wow. I'm liking these little strokes that are going on here. That's just way different. Way different. So what I'm going to do is push this back so I don't knock it off. Get some of this down from the bottom. And then stop for a second and just take a look at it and say, okay, where is this going? Because what happens when you're so close to it, you can't see where you are. All right, so what I'm seeing here is these shapes are fairly equal. That's not going to work. So I'm gonna make the grass go even taller, or whatever this is. It feels like grass. I'm going to feather it up here. And I'm applying less pressure as it gets to the top. So more paint down here. And more of a crisscross so that they're not all the same. Oops. Wow, that's fun. Okay, so we've got these big old dark, you know what this reminds me of? I was at the beach and these grasses at the beach, it kind of reminds me of that. All right, so we've got three kind of big globs there that need to be maybe just reduced. All right, now what else do we need to do this? I'm standing back. That's just wild. This is just so out there. In some cases, what I would do is I would leave this alone, let it dry, and get some perspective and see, do I really want to change it? What do I want to do with those? I'm thinking I want to give a little bit of separation here. So I'm going to lighten this up just at the bottom with some straight white. Let's see what that does. I originally thought I was going to get out the knife, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure that's where this is going. I'm definitely listening to the painting. I don't always do that. Lots of times I pretty much impose my own will on it, but I'm really paying attention to what it's saying. I was reading a poet's work, and he was talking about what he just lets the work talk to him, and he rolls with it. And really, when you're on a roll and you're doing it right, that's what happens with the painting. Okay. So I'm going to lighten this up a little bit right here. Wow, how'd that happen? All right, so what it did was it removed the paint, brought out some of the green from underneath, and that's just ugly. Didn't like that. So now I can tell that I could put the yellow back. We can rebuild it. All right, and I have to decide whether I want to leave that or not. Let me see if I can put some of this yellow over the top and some of this grass and see what happens. Ooh. That's kind of fun. Now the problem with this is every time you do this, you're going to have to start wiping your brush, or it'll just smear and be globs. So put a few down, stop, wipe, same thing. Some more over here. And then I'll add some more. I think I want some yellow. I'm going to infuse some yellow. But you know what? It is, I am chomping at the bit to get out the knife. And what's my hesitation here? My hesitation is that this is nice, soft, mellow grass. Once I get the knife, I don't know how to do it that delicate. I know people who can, but wow, I just put my finger right in the paint. I know people who can, but mine tend to come out, I'm kind of like a bowl in the china shop, they just comes out a little heavy-handed. So, but you know what? I got to get the knife out. We're just going to do it. All right, so how would I start to address this? I'll add some straight white right up here. Ooh. And it's kind of blending as you smear into that, so I'm going to let go of that. And then grab some more straight white just over on this edge. And move it up. I'm looking at Van Gogh stuff lately. That'll do it to you. Wow, it's going to be like a mosaic. So you can see that it took all the softness out of it. But I would have had to just leave it, and I wasn't there. Okay, so if you press too hard, you get the ridge from the frame here. So you want to be gentle in certain places. And that's kind of hard for me sometimes. Okay. Now, I'm going to step back here, can you make that smooth, or can you do it with a knife and still make it something that's a little more delicate? Yeah, you can. You can scrape this thing off. There's one way. And you can use like if you're frosting a cake, something like that. So it is possible. And the cool thing is, let me show you this. I'm just going to take this off. Let's say you didn't like what you did. You could scrape the whole thing off. It's called sgraffito. Now normally, sgraffito is more of an etching, into what's existing here. It's more of a scratch effect. This is just plain removal. There's got to be a good Italian word for it, but I don't know. All right, so what if you kind of wanted to get back to where you were? Well, you know what? You could take that yellow again that we glazed, put it back, although I do have other color here. Now I'm showing, see, I'm trying to get rid of this. I'm going to try some straight white here and see what happens. I'm trying to get rid of the little lines from the stretcher bars. And I'll just grab some white, put it in. Not going to grab the mix I had. I'm going for straight white. I am using a dirty brush, though. Let's see. Because I really kind of like that soft thing that was happening before I went in and played with it. But you know what? If you don't go in and do it, you're never going to find out. Okay, let's say you love what you did, you wanted to test something, but you didn't have you just didn't want to screw up what you had, so you didn't do what I just did, right? But you wanted to see what was going to happen. One way to do that if you're really worried about it, just stick some clear plastic here over the top, paint over it, see what kind of effect you get, and then if you like it, great, and if not, you still have what's underneath. But I do crossword puzzles in ink. I don't know what to tell you. You know what? Your personality comes out when you paint. Okay, so kind of back to where we started. I do like the softness of this. It's a nice combination of some really loud in-your-face color, but with some soft strokes. This is happy. So I want to keep that feel. There is a softer side to me, yes. And then I'm gonna put some of that bright yellow right on top, on the very. So this is one of those days, normally for about a week ahead of time, I know exactly what I'm going to paint on the next shoot. I have everything all mapped out. And it was, I have everything just so. Well, it was about 2 hours before the shoot, and I'm like, not sure what I'm going to do. Then I get a call from Kalichi, and there you go. So thanks for the inspiration, Jim. Glad to hear you're still painting. I love that you started painting at 80 years old. Oh, that's pretty. And then you have the logical people that'll say, well, what is it? And my answer to that is, it could be anything you want it to be. Not worried about it. Okay, so that's a nice, mellow, reminds me of Pajaro Dunes. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so let's see what we can do to maybe punch this up a little bit. I did get some nice sap green there. What do we want? A little bit more. Maybe alter the shapes. Maybe pretend like there's some trees or something. So what am I doing now? Scribbling in a different direction. So we're still going vertical. I don't want the same height, so I am conscious of composition. Don't have much paint on the brush. Just kind of throwing in some whatever, trees, bushes, whatever you want them to be. And what's happening is I'm scraping off some of that paint that was there so you can see the blue underneath, and I'm leaving it. There is texture from the painting underneath, and I'm not worried about that either. There are times when I am, you want to scrape off or sand, but I have to admit that if it gets to the point where I'm going to have to sand it, that's when I get out the knife and the paint's that thick and you just can't see it. Okay, so down here lower, I want to kind of ground this thing. Got a little bit of green right there. Push that up too. I always like to leave a little escape route in my paintings, in my landscapes. Got to be a way out and through, so I'm leaving a little path in here. That's good. Okay, so I've gone this far, and other than the purple, which turned kind of red, it's really not much red here, so we must remedy that. Now, why? Not just because I'm matching my couch cushion, but because there's two factors. One, I love red, and it's been almost a whole show without any red. And then number two is the red is a complement. It's opposite on the color wheel to this green, so they'll really be happy together. It's a good couple. So I'm hearing, it's probably good that they can't download what goes through my head sometimes when I'm painting, but I'm hearing this old turtle song, Happy Together, with, with the red and the green. It's just cute. Most of you are probably too young to remember that, but that's all right. Google it. So if you've got ideas, oh, look at this red. See, now that's just happy. Now I'm not going to put a bunch, just a little bit here. And maybe a little right here. It's mixing with the green, so it's not over the top, it's not screaming yet. Okay, so I'm standing back to look at that. That's happy. And it needs a little more grounding, so I'm going to grab a little more violet, maybe with a dirty brush. There we go. Let's ground this puppy. Do we know what's going on here? No. That's the cool thing, you can just make it up. I'll make some of this go up a little bit. So I put the strokes this way, and then I just push it up a little bit. There's extra thick paint. Whoops. I just smeared it all off. There's extra thick paint right here, and I was going to leave it. But since I smeared it, I actually took off some good paint that was there. I'm going to just lightly, oh man, I'm making it worse. All right. We'll get out some more. All right, so this is a good lesson. If you have too stiff a brush and it's this wet, I'm actually scraping off paint rather than putting it on. So I'm going to take the knife, grab some of that I scraped off. Won't waste that. Put that right there. It's like spackle repair. And then, oh God, speaking of spackle repair, you are not going to believe what the kids did. They had made a bunch of holes. Well, come to find out, they were shooting the BB gun off in the house while nobody was home. And they filled the holes with toothpaste. Toothpaste. Smelled minty fresh in the, my God. Anyway, I got sidetracked there. It's like filling holes here. All right, so I put some more of that back, and now I'll get a smoother brush. And make sure that's, yeah, and blend it. Lightly. I'm not applying any pressure at all because otherwise I'll be back to where I started before I did this. Okay, that's good. Stop. All right, so this needs some separation in here. So I'm going to take some of this light, put some up right here. Maybe some right here. Might be too much. I don't know until I step away from it. I think I'll blend that. I'm just pouncing on it. It needs a little blue. If I put a little blue in there next to the yellow, that will be happy. Okay, I left a little path in there. So where do we want a little bit of blue? So I'm listening to the painting. What does it want? What does it need? Okay, do I go for ultramarine blue or a little phthalo turquoise? Both. White shoes if you don't have to. All right, so I'm going to move a little bit of this white over, mix a tiny, tiny bit of this phthalo turquoise. Okay, maybe a little more than that. Got a little blue there. These are just going to be accents. If I do too much of this, it's going to be totally out of place. A little bit of that, a little bit of ultramarine blue. They're fairly close in value, and by that I mean how light and dark they are. I'm going to use a small brush. I'll start with this turquoise. Where do I want to put it? Right by the yellow, because that's where it will sing. Everybody's influenced by their environment, so you want to put the colors next to the people that are going to complement them the best. So this blue really likes the yellow. A little bit there. I got to stop. And maybe a little bit of this. I'm going to go straight into this blue now that my brush is dirty. There we go. And some really random shapes. So people will start asking what they are. I've had people see unicorns and grasshoppers and all kinds of things. There. That's good. All right, so we got this part. Something's going on there. Stepping back from that. Now this just looks like a solid line here. It looks a little out of place. So I'm going to put some dark down here and tie it in a little bit. And then I will push this right over the top of that. I'm doing kind of a V shape so that it's narrower at the edges and gets wider as it gets down here. That was a little too much there. Okay, that's fun. All right, so now what I want to do is take this stuff and push it up. Do I want some of that yellow? Well, I'll try the purple first and see what I can put over the top. And I'm pushing it right over the top of this stuff. I am so close to this and on top of it that I have no idea what's happening. I'm just looking at, I'm really looking at it from a perspective of each little section, does it look happy next to each other? And that's all I care about at this point. Now in the studio at home, I have a mirror behind me so I can turn around and get some distance from it. And I have a monitor here that I can look at, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. That's pretty dark. Woof. We're going to put some yellow over the top of that once I get this blended in. But I needed to have that uniform right up into that point. And I'm just scribbling some more. There's interesting texture going on here. It's great. It's very mysterious. So I'm picking colors that are complementary. I'm blending a lot on the canvas because we're working wet into wet, which I don't normally do. Normally I work in glazes and layers over dry. Ooh, that's rich. Funny thing is, I did this to match my couch, but in all actuality, it's freestanding, so I'm not going to place it over my couch. But I love the color. Okay. So there will need to be a separation here and here, but I really like what's going on and that you're getting this sense of place, that something really is happening here. All right, let's take some of the yellows and put that over. Ooh, I like that. It should actually be darker on the bottom and then get lighter as it goes up to the top. And I'm going to achieve that by putting some yellows over the top of that. I think I'll switch to The cad yellow deep is opaque. The Indian yellow that I started off with is very transparent, so I'm going to put more of the opaque over the top. And I got to be consistent and use a. No, I don't. I was thinking. I should be consistent and use another square brush, but actually that would add some interest. Let's see how that works with this over the top. There we go. See, this is thicker. Not as transparent. Some right over the top here. Kind of an interesting perspective. Wow. So some of it's really blended, some of it's not. Let's try some lemon yellow and see what happens. Might be a little too much. So I'm just going to work some of that off my brush. But I think I can blend it out. I don't think it's going to hurt it. I just can't use too much of it. Yellow is like a spoiled child. I mean, it reacts that way. So if you get a little dose, it's entertaining. But beyond that, gotta go. Gotta behave. Okay, back to the oranges, back to the gold. And some more violet. You know what, I think down here is where we can get out the knife. Yeah. Okay. In order for that to work, I probably need to put a little more dark down there first. Quickly. Just put it down. Now what's happening is some of this paint is starting to set up. It's a little hot in the studio, and so it's, even though it's oil, the medium helps it dry and evaporate a little faster. So it's reacting a little different than when I first put it down. I did a painting in a clean room and I couldn't figure out, I did a mural, and I couldn't figure out why, God, as fast as I'd put it down, the paint was just drying up. But really it was because it's evaporating all the moisture. So it was a whole new way of painting. Okay, so that's darker down there. A little more dark down here. I want there to be a sense of balance, and I don't want the painting to be top heavy. So that's why I'm really darkening this down below. You could use a blue or an umber, but I really like the warmth of the violet. Oh, we could throw some red in too. That'd be great. I'm going to move this over so I can get these edges. Okay. All right, so it's starting to take some shape as far as you've got dark hair, some medium going on right here. Not too sure what's going on over there. Now I think it's time for the knife. I usually like to have a good foundation first before I get the knife out. Now there's painting knives and there's mixing knives. This is a mixing knife, but I use it for painting. I love the Italian knives. This is a painting knife. It's a little awkward to mix with, but I think I'm going to actually use the mixing knife for some of these strokes here. So what do I want to put here? I'm thinking maybe some yellow ochre. Nah, that's just what I had. How about some red? We have not put any red in here. Oh. Just throw it in. Scribble. A little more red here. I'm starting at the top. I'm going to work my way down. You can see some of the stuff underneath. I'm going to use a little bit cooler red as I move my way down. And more red in the middle than on the edges. And then I'll grab some violet. I'm going to need, that looks like it's the end of the tube. It's not looking so good, so I'm going to find some more. It is the end of the tube. All right, we'll see what we can get here. Out of there. I have a tube bringer, but I didn't bring it, which is great. It gets all the paint out, because I don't squeeze from the end. I squeeze from the middle. My husband and I have separate toothpaste. Helps us stay married. Okay, there's some purple there. That adds some value contrast. Oof. We don't want too much. I don't want it to be too dark that high up. Some scratchy stuff going there. Ooh, let's throw in some, let's mix that together. Let's mix some paint. Okay, so I'm taking the Indian yellow with sap green. Oh yeah. Throw in some of that here. And then throw some yellow over the top. Going to mix some of that first. Now this is more, I think I'm going with the Indian yellow. I'm going for the loud one today. Oof. That's just, that hurts. If you get colors that don't work together, they totally hurt. Oh, you can just scrape it. Throw it in with wild abandon. Just paint. This is like it's on fire. It's like a field on fire. Throw some big broad strokes as you get down further. Just push it. See what you can get. It's really good to play with some rowdy music while you're doing this too. Okay, so I'm scraping. I'm taking the knife. I'm altering my strokes. Throw some more red in the middle. Some on the edge for balance. And let's see what we can do down below. You'll see that I'm wiping my knife quite a bit. All right, so I'll throw some of this violet in down here. Oops, I'm supposed to get rid of that. And I'm going to throw in some red right over the top of this down here. Oof, this is wild. Are you brave enough to throw some of this down and leave it? Some days I am, some days I'm not. So let's say you did this, and you thought, wow, what was I thinking? Well, you could take the knife and you could scrape it off. And there are other days where it's like, wow, this is cool, let's just go for it. I'm not sure what this is going to be yet. I'm kind of liking this wild part of this. And you can see some of the blue underneath, so it looks like I've added the blue, and that's adding the coolness, the balance that I need. I need to add a little more green. Oof. Just huge strokes as it gets toward the bottom. Maybe a few right here. And we have time for just a couple more. All right, so let's throw in some red, just because. And again, it's got to come off the bottom. If you can do this without knocking the canvas over, that's pretty good. Ooh, I just threw in some ultramarine blue, and that was just an absolutely gorgeous touch right there. I am not going to mess with that. Throw in a little red at the bottom here. And there you go. Okay, so what do we do here? We took a cloud painting, or the beginning stages of a cloud painting, and there is nothing blue left here. There is nothing mellow left here. I went with the vibe. I went with how I was feeling today, changed the color, changed the whole mood of the whole thing. So what I hope that I've encouraged you today is you can always change your mind. You can always paint over it. And it's not always about making something realistic or photorealistic. Sometimes it's about just having fun and getting the paint down on the canvas. Thank you so much for watching Give Your Walls Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom.